Investment advisory services are offered through Fusion Capital Management, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The firm only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. SEC registration is not an endorsement of the firm by the Commission and does not mean that the advisor has attained a specific level of skill or ability.
Welcome to Navigating Retirement with Rick Durkee.
And welcome into the program. This is Navigating Retirement with Charleston's resource for financial and retirement planning information, guidance, and direction. He is the president and founder of the Coastal Financial Planning Group. Rick Durkee once again with us. Rick, welcome back in.
Hey, thanks, Peter. Good morning and welcome to everybody joining us in. We've had lots to talk about here over the last 3 podcasts that we've done, and looking forward to winding that down with you today, Peter.
Yeah, well, we've been doing the Countdown to Retirement, Rick, this compilation of reports that you have made available, comprehensive planning information, presenting issues, presenting solutions, helping people really get a handle on some of the biggest risks that they will face and some opportunities to plan more effectively. And ladies and gentlemen, if you would like a copy of any of the Countdown to Retirement reports, including the 5 planning mistakes to avoid, the 4 approaches to long-term care, the one we will be covering on today's edition of the program, which is the 3 biggest retirement expenses and how to plan to control them, or any of the rest of the reports, pick up the phone, give the Coastal Financial Planning Group a call, 800-491-6220, 800-491-6220. And Rick, I know you covered a lot of these at that recent retirement planning summit that you had there at the Coastal Financial Planning Group. All digital this year, but a big success.
Yeah, and the cool thing about digital, Peter, is I see the link right there behind you, you know, how people can register. We're going to leave that up on the website now for a couple weeks because it's digital, it's virtual. You can still watch the Retirement Planning Summit in the comfort of your home after it happened.
Right.
And still get the same information. So certainly go to cfpgroup.biz. That's cfpgroup.biz and register for the Retirement Planning Summit. Even now after it happened, watch it whenever you want to.
On demand. That's the world we live in. It's so convenient for everything. Well, Rick, the topic of today's program, maybe not so convenient because we know that adding up the costs, retirement is going to be very expensive. On today's program, wanting to tackle the 3 biggest retirement expenses and how to plan to control them. Number 1 on this list, Rick, is our largest known expense. And this is a big one. It's one we're going to have to plan around, and everybody is really going to have to factor this into their planning. And that is taxes. Rick, probably our largest known expense in retirement.
Taxes, you know, the unknown, okay, because that's the one uncertainty that we have when we're looking forward into doing tax forward planning is what will taxes be in the future? Now, we are in a historically low tax rate environment. Now is some of the best time to do tax forward planning because, you know, if things are low, they're probably going to go up. Probability is things will go up before they go down any further. We do also know that we've got some large debt issues as a country, and taxes are the way that debt is paid off.
Yep.
You know, not even taking into consideration COVID and what's going on with that and the stimulus packages and relief for COVID. So we have to anticipate that taxes will more than likely go up. When we're looking at our IRAs specifically, that is a retirement plan that we put money in so that it could snowball and not pay taxes on the growth while we were in our working years and our accumulation years. Now it has snowballed. Now we have no control over how we pay taxes on those particular IRAs because Congress votes on the tax laws and we don't have any control over that. Our partner in our IRA, all that money that we built up in our business of retirement is now the IRS, and they have controlling interest. They own 51% of that IRA. So we've got to do some tax planning always. We have to factor in that taxes will be one of those areas that are going to eat away and be an expense in retirement.
They set the rules. We don't know exactly what percentage of it they ultimately are going to confiscate or require us to pay them, but it can change, and they're the ones that can change it. They make the rules, not us, which is why Rick, effective tax planning is much more than just a decision to ignore taxes today and kick that can down the road into retirement. Really, the earlier you can start planning on how to control your taxes, the better off you're going to be. But even if you already have a large, significant tax deferred balance, a large amount of assets already in tax deferred accounts, without taking steps to control that ultimate tax liability, Rick, you're leaving yourself open, and there are still opportunities to take advantage of today. You can manage that tax bill and control it.
Yeah, Pete. And I encourage our listeners to think about it this way. You're letting money slip through the cracks, and it's going to the IRS. Do you think our government's spending money well? Well, they're going to get to spend your money if you don't do proactive tax planning. I mentioned that earlier. I want to go back to that. You need to take a look at what are the opportunities. Right now, under current tax law, the only 3 savings tools that we have that we can use for tax-free income planning in our retirement are: number 1, the equity in your home. You wonder why people are starting to use reverse mortgages more and more and more now? It's because it's a big bank account you can't take with you where you're going. It's the equity in your home. It's tax-free. When you die, it's going to pass on to the children. Would you rather spend tax-free dollars in your retirement? Yeah, sure. So take the income out of the equity in your home. That's one source. Number 2 source is the Roth IRA. If you started late, you might not have the opportunity to build that Roth IRA unless you convert and pay taxes now in that low tax rate environment to future dollars being in the Roth IRA. That's an option. Conversion to a Roth IRA, but Roth IRA is the second tool. The third tool is life insurance. Life insurance cash values are accessible, income tax free, and many, many people have found an opportunity to use life insurance to create tax-free income in retirement.
Well, Rick, with the passing of the Secure Act, which went into effect January 1st of this year, the rules, as you just stated, and is proven by the passing of this law, the rules can change. They have, in fact, changed. And if we had plans for passing along those tax-deferred assets, we've got to reevaluate those plans, even if they were carefully laid plans that we went into detail on how to plan for that legacy. Those rules have now changed, and those plans may be nullified. We need to revisit that plan for tax deferral, for those IRAs, those 401ks, and for the legacy that we wished to create with them. Rick, our second largest expense in retirement, the largest potential expense, is healthcare. Now, this is one that can also drain down assets very quickly.
It is. And, we try to take care of ourselves as boomers moving into retirement. We've spent a lot more time going to the gym, keeping in shape. We're living longer, so one of those big expenses is longevity in retirement. If we live longer, then the probability for paying higher taxes or having healthcare issues certainly becomes an issue for retirement. And so our expense of healthcare, I think, if we're preparing for our own things that we can control ourselves, like our current health, we can take control of that, and we can do some planning for that so that we don't have the healthcare issues that we might have if we were, not in good health.
Well, there are several options for how to approach protecting yourself and your family and your loved ones and your assets from the potential high cost of medical expenses. You cover those in a separate report here in the Countdown to Retirement, which was the 4 approaches to long-term care. Great resources for somebody to look over.
Yeah, I want to rewind back to that one. Request that sheet if you'd like today. But certainly when we talk about healthcare, you have to look at long-term care. Long-term care is one of the biggest roadblocks. I saw a report recently from Kiplinger's that had the 14 biggest retirement mistakes, and it specifically said if you don't plan for long-term care needs, that you are in trouble. You're definitely not going to be addressing one of the number 1 roadblocks of retirement income planning, and that's the risk of needing long-term care. Now, it's not about, I'll just take me, for example, Peter. If it happens to me with long-term care, then I'm concerned about how my wife survives. How does it affect her income plan
Right,
in
right.
retirement?
It's often not the person that has the long-term care need, Rick. Obviously, they suffer. They've got decreased quality of life, but it's not that person that ultimately usually suffers the most. It's the healthy spouse, the caregiver, that drains the assets down and then has several more years of healthy living that they cannot fund or support.
Yeah. So hey, long-term care, the chances of, as you age into and throughout retirement, the chances of one of you two spouses or even a single retiree is pretty high that you're going to need some form of long-term care in your lifetime. So, and I don't say take out long-term care insurance to provide for all of it. And you can, ask for that report when we talked about long-term care again, but have a plan, have a financial plan, have some assets that can start paying for your long-term care if you have an income gap when it comes to paying for that type of care.
Well, Rick, you mentioned longevity being a factor. This final expense here is one that often goes unnoticed over a short period of time. But if we look back, very measurable, very quantifiable, and makes a big impact. And that is the third largest expense in retirement, the silent thief, inflation. We're going to have a plan for how to deal with rising expenses over the course of a longer retirement.
I like to put this in an analogy, Peter, for our boomer listeners that are really on retirement's doorstep or already made that retirement decision. I want to take you back. I'm going to talk about a dinosaur, a company that recently went into bankruptcy, Sears. They used to have a Sears catalog that they put out every year. And I know most of the boomers are saying, I remember we used to order our school clothes in the Sears catalog.
You could buy a house in that.
You could. They had a house for $14,000 that you could do back in the 60s. It's crazy, but the key here is think about it from a standpoint of, let's just go back 1978, 9, somewhere late 70s. And if you by chance have that Sears catalog, if you want to just go up and look it up historically online, you can find a Sears catalog. Look at the prices of things in there. A set of tires cost $80. How much does a set of tires cost today, later?
$800
$800 for a truck?
At least. Yeah.
And let's go back to a loaf of bread. You could probably buy in the 70s, you could probably buy 2 or 3 for $1. Okay. They had twofers, 50 cents a loaf. Nowadays, you're looking at, specialty breads, which everybody promotes. White bread's no good anymore. You can't buy that cheap white $4.99 a loaf, seedless rye bread that's home baked, something like that. So
artisan, it's artisan now.
Artisan, I gotcha. So, it's all relative. The thing about it that we have to say is your retirement income plan absolutely has to build inflation into it. Hey, specifically look at your expenses in retirement, and then we'll map out each one of those expenses with historical inflation rates on it. So we'll break each one down, because some people might need that other risk we were talking about. They may need healthcare. Healthcare, of course, has a much higher inflation rate than, grocery store, groceries that you buy. So inflation is a factor. It's one of these three that we're talking about today that has to be addressed. And the way that you can address it is to make sure that you have a retirement income plan in place.
Yep. In fact, the only way to combat the possibility of expenses potentially catastrophically exceeding assets and income producing ability is to have a retirement income plan in writing, that income allocation plan. And we will be talking about that on the next edition of Navigating Retirement with Rick Durkee. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like any of the series of reports or even the compilation of the countdown to retirement, go ahead and call and request all of the reports, 800-491-6220. Go online to cfpgroup.biz, cfpgroup.biz. Biz. Register for and watch on demand the recent Retirement Planning Summit. Lots of great speakers, great discussion of important topics, risks for you to address, opportunities for strategically leveraging dollars and being more efficient with your planning, discussed in the Retirement Planning Summit. And again, you can go over these reports on your own with your spouse, family, loved ones, friends, or you can sit down with a team at the Coastal Financial Planning Group with Rick Durkee and his team of qualified professionals to help you formulate a plan for how to address these many important issues. 800-491-6220. That's 800-491-6220. That's all the time that we have for right now. But Rick, I look forward to talking with you again on the next edition where we talk about formulating that written retirement income plan, the income allocation to combat these three biggest retirement expenses.
Thank you, Peter.
Catch more of Rick Durkee and Navigating Retirement by visiting cfpgroup.biz.
While we believe the information in this broadcast is reliable, we cannot guarantee its accuracy. Opinions expressed are subject to change without notice and are not intended as investment advice or solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. Please consult your financial professional before making any investment decisions. Investment advisory services are offered through Fusion Capital Management, an SEC-registered investment advisor. SEC registration is not an endorsement of the firm by the Commission and does not mean that the advisor has attained a specific level of skill or ability. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes.
Fiduciary duty extends solely to investment advisory advice and does not extend to other activities such as insurance or broker-dealer services. Advisory clients are charged a fee for assets under management, while insurance products pay a commission, which may result in a conflict of interest regarding compensation.